What's up, everybody? Welcome to Urban Rifle Development. I'm your host, Ahmed Jumjum. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Many of you know me personally, and anyone that knows me personally knows I'm extremely passionate when it comes to firearms. All the time, I have friends and family asking me questions firearms related, and I always find myself explaining the same thing over and over again. So I said, screw it. I'll make my own YouTube channel and break down basic firearm laws, terminology, and other things that I think may benefit new gun owners. What I want to do is give you guys the information that I felt would have benefited me when I was first getting into guns. That way, we can promote responsible gun ownership, and also because ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Now, before we dive in, you always want to make sure you're following the 4 basic universal rules of gun safety. Number 1, always assume all guns are loaded before handling them. Number 2, never cover your muzzle with anything you're not willing to destroy. Number 3, keep your finger off of the trigger until your sights are on target and you have made the decision to shoot. Number 4, be certain of what your target is and what is beyond it. Which brings me to the topic of today's video. The difference between a rifle, a short-barreled rifle, and a pistol. This is one of the most confusing concepts to new gun owners. It's all arbitrary bullshit, but hopefully by the end of this video, you'll be able to clearly understand the difference between the 3. Let's start with the easiest to explain of the 3, the rifle. According to the ATF, a rifle is defined as a weapon that is intended to be fired from the shoulder, with each single pull of the trigger sending one projectile down the barrel. It must have a minimum barrel length of at least 16 inches and a minimum overall length of 26 inches. I actually memorized all that. Now over here, I have my rifle. It's got a 16-inch barrel, so that requirement is met. And the overall length is well over 26 inches, so that requirement is met as well. If you look to the front of the firearm, I have what is called the vertical foregrip, and I'll talk on this in a second. But when you look to the rear of the firearm, you have what is called a butt stock. Butt stocks are stiff and rigid, and they make it perfect for when you want to shoulder the firearm when you're ready to fire. Next we have the short-barreled rifle. Short-barreled rifle is, as the name states, it's a rifle with the short barrel. It's no longer constrained to the minimum barrel length requirements and overall length requirements that the original rifle was. Over here I have my short-barreled rifle. It's got an 11.5-inch barrel, which is under the 16-inch requirement, but it's no longer a requirement because this is a short-barreled rifle. But when you look to the back of the firearm, the rear of the firearm, you see again the butt stock. Rigid, stiff, perfect for when I shoulder it. And again, when you look to the front of the firearm, I have a vertical foregrip. SBRs are heavily regulated. They are regulated by the National Firearms Act, aka the NFA. They are subject to a $200 tax. Submission of fingerprints, submission of passport photos, and filling out the proper paperwork and sending that out to the ATF. It's a lengthy process, could take anywhere from a couple months to over a year. After that time has elapsed and you have received an approved tax stamp, you may now either take home your purchased NFA item or build it out yourself. Now the thing is with NFA items, you cannot take those out the state without permission by the ATF. There's a big hassle behind them, so I understand why a lot of people try to stay away from them. Next we have the most confusing of the 3, the pistol. Pistols are basically firearms that are designed to be fired with one hand and not from the shoulder. Over here I have my AR pistol. It's got a barrel length of 10.5 inches, which is under the 16-inch requirement for a rifle. However, this is not a rifle, this is a pistol. Why is it a pistol? When you look to the rear of the firearm, this is not a stock. This is what is called the pistol stabilizing brace. It's not rigid, it's not stiff, it has this hole in the back with 2 flaps. Now what you do is you open up the strap on the brace and you run your forearm between the 2 flaps in the back. You then tighten this strap as tight as you can, and the weapon is now designed to be fired with one hand. The ATF also states that firing these pistols from the shoulder does not reclassify them because that's not how the weapon was designed to be used. And again, if you look at the pistol brace, it is not rigid, it's not stiff, it's very flexible, and it doesn't make for an ideal shouldering device. Now there are many different types of these pistols. Not only are there AR pistols, but you also got AK pistols like the Draco, you got MP5 pistols, CZ Scorpion pistols, Grand Power Stribog pistols, and there's so many more. Going back to the pistol, if you look to the front of the firearm, I have what is called an angled foregrip or a hand stop, not a vertical foregrip like I have on my rifles. Now, you cannot put a vertical foregrip on a pistol for some reason because the ATF says that if you do put a vertical foregrip on a pistol, it is then considered an unregistered short-barreled rifle. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to make this video is because I know many people who own these types of pistols, whether it be AR pistols, AK pistols, or any of the other pistols that I mentioned earlier. They may have wanted to put a stock on it. Putting a stock on it would then make it an unregistered SBR. Putting a vertical foregrip on it would then can make it an unregistered SBR. Now, it's not like the ATF is going to know that you do have an unregistered SBR in your possession. However, say that your house gets on fire and the police come in and they see your firearms. Or you got pulled over on your way to the range and you live in a state that you have to declare your firearm to a police officer. Or even worse, you have to use that firearm in a self-defense situation. If in any of those scenarios you had an AR pistol that had a vertical foregrip on it, or for some reason you may have thrown out the brace and put on a stock, and that is what the law enforcement catches you with, you are looking at a potential felony. Even worse, right now the ATF is attempting to redefine what makes a firearm a pistol. Not only is their new criteria complete bullshit, but it's vague and impossible to meet, essentially banning them. The ATF estimates there are between 3 and 7 million of these pistols in circulation, bought by people like you, who bought them in good faith and in compliance with the law. Every single one of these pistols will now be subject to the new criteria if approved. They are not grandfathering any of the currently approved pistols, and every single one of them will either be subject to the $200 tax stamp for registration of a short-barreled rifle, or you will have to destroy the firearm or give it up to the ATF, or else you will be risking a potential felony. If you'd like to know more about the ATF's proposed criteria, head on over to Gun Owners of America. They have a pistol point calculator to measure the score of your pistol according to the proposed criteria, so you can see for yourself. Nothing currently accepted will pass the new criteria. What is it that we can do to fight this? Right now, the ATF are accepting comments from citizens who will be affected by the new proposed criteria. There are currently over 100,000 comments. However, the problem is there are millions of people who own these who have no idea what's going on. And it's meant to be that way. That way, they don't have much of an opposition. Submit a comment to the ATF. Shit. Have your mom submit a comment, your sister, your brother, your kids. Have everybody submit a comment to the ATF. It really does make a difference. They tried this earlier in 2020 and it got shut down due to the high influx of comments. The ATF had no choice but to retract their statement. I can't stress how important it is to submit a comment. And we only have until September 8th. We only have until September 8th to submit these comments. After September 8th, they will no longer be accepting comments. And if they don't retract their proposition then, it will then be law. Now, Gun Owners of America have streamlined the process of submitting a comment to the ATF with all the talking points necessary. I'll be sure to add that link in the description. With that said, this concludes the topic of today's video, the difference between a rifle, short-barreled rifle, and a pistol. I hope I was able to clearly demonstrate the difference between the three, and I hope you were able to learn something. If there's anything you would like to see firearms related, please go on and let me know. And if you have any questions about anything firearms related, please go on and let me know as well. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. For real, just hit subscribe. The only reason why I'm starting this channel is just so I can help everyone else and do my part for the 2A community. Thank you. Shout out Sammy.